Willkommen zurück zu Hier, Code. Im letzten Part haben wir den letzten Pfad angefangen und ein paar Räume 100% gemacht, aber jetzt scheint was Seltsames zu sein, denn ich werde von A verfolgt und nachdem wir einen Weg über die ganze Bar geredet haben, ist er geschockt. Warum? Finden wir es raus. There was one of the twins on the ground with a knife lodged into her chest. I couldn't tell if this was G or H. Oh, okay, das erklärt's. Next to the immobile body was Jasmine on the ground, straddled by the other twin. Whichever this one was, she was wailing against the pink-haired girl, screaming and tearing up a storm. Something was weird. I felt strangely detached from the scene, despite someone having died. It was like this didn't make sense. The twins hadn't come back yet. How were they here? I would have known if they had come back. I was waiting for it to happen. Come to think of it, where was Ray? He wasn't there. Ray and Marco weren't there, in fact. The entire room was moving. As I watched everything in slow motion, a splitting headache ran through my head. It was freezing me on the spot. Where was Marco? Where was Ray? Why were the twins here? In the span of a single moment, I realized that they had been here for a while. Somehow, my memory of Marco and Ray being here was false? The twins had returned first instead.
You killed my sister! Why? Why did you? Why? Why? Why do you keep saying she's an imposter? My sister isn't an imposter. H isn't an imposter.
I finally put together that this twin was G. H was an imposter? What was Jasmine saying? A was on the move too, but whatever he did, I didn't know as I sank back under the counter.
Please don't fight here. We have to sort out the situation, no matter how dire.
Let go of me! She assassinated her!
I was holding my head in pain as the others tried to handle the situation. Something in me was wrong. I was still fixated on that strange moment when Ray and Marco were replaced by the twins. What the fuck is this? I finally forced myself up. I had to do something. I ran around the corner to do something, anything. And for that matter, where did Jasmine even get the knife? A small flashback enlightened me. Right, she disappeared when we went to the laboratory, didn't she? Did she grab the knife back then? Why? Was it for this? Had she planned to kill H already? As I moved in, I saw the situation. The old man was holding G under both her arms, but he was having issues keeping her off the warpath, and Jasmine was still on the floor trying to stand up. If I did nothing, the hostilities would begin anew. I moved forward and tried to grab my friend to stop her from fighting the twin. Yet, as I reached for her, Jasmine dodged my hand and instead elbowed me in the face. Ow! Jasmine! Considering the situation, I didn't care about their nicknames anymore. Jasmine slipped out of my grasp to grab the knife, and in the same movement, G kicked A in the knee, making him lose his footings, just long enough for her to sprint out of his hold. Jasmine deflected the girl running at her with her free hand, and the next scene was something even weirder than before. I was even more detached from this one. Sure, this dealt with my issue, but Jasmine stabbed the old man in cold blood. All he let out was a weak noise before collapsing on the ground. Some bloody red typhoon was rapidly rushing out of his body.
The imposters! All of them will get it. Every imposter he has got to die.
Jasmine had stabbed him in an important place, since he seemed to have gone into shock. Moments later, I thought for sure that he had expired. All the color remaining in his face was draining away. His breathing had already ceased the moment she stabbed him. Perhaps she got him in his lung. I wasn't sure exactly what this meant. His entire body was softening up, and he dropped down like a marionette without a string. Jasmine, du siehst ein bisschen verrückt aus? Bit crazy? As I watched, powerless, G's cry was mixed with the noise of the body falling to the ground. Just like the expiration dates for the drinks, his own had come. Jasmine, stop! Why him? What are you? I stopped talking when I saw her pull the knife out from the old man's body. Her gaze was unfocused. It was all over the place. Her eyes were always open and never even blinked anymore. I thought I imagined it, but I definitely saw her irises wiggling slightly. They were vibrating back and forth once in a while. What happened to you, Jasmine? My inertia ended the moment she turned her head away from the old man to look elsewhere. Where? Nearby, E was standing up. She clearly felt something was amiss. However, she also couldn't tell what was exactly happening. And Jasmine had her sights on her. Despite all that Jasmine was doing, I couldn't bring myself to hate her. I didn't know what was happening to her. It was like a demon possessed her. I just need to destroy that demon. If I destroy the demon, Jasmine will come back to me. Her eyes, I could tell, they weren't fine. She wasn't fine and I needed to free her from the demon. In the split moment of her choice, I saw two things. One, she was utterly useless. She was horrified. In her state, she was much more focused on the twin's dead body. Two, Jasmine was lunging forward. I only had a single moment to act. I could either slam Jasmine to knock her out cold or pull Ian off the trajectory. I was about midway between both. This small hesitation was because I didn't know if I heard Jasmine doing it. At the same time, I couldn't stand by idly when E was in danger. Ich glaube, es wäre entschlossen, ihn nicht zu retten, weil wenn ich da in die Gegend springe, ersticht sie mich. Also machen wir es. In the moment, I remember Jasmine's eyes. They were crazy. They were completely out of focus. I understood that then that there was no reasoning with her. But she didn't stab G earlier, when she shoved the girl aside. Perhaps then that she would be safe with her, paradoxically. I didn't know what to do, so I did the most natural thing. I reached over for E. As soon as my hand wrapped around her wrist, I janked her out of the way.
Huh? What? What's going on?
She quickly fell against me. I gritted my teeth upon feeling the added weight. A small clicking noise echoed when our collars came into contact. I almost lost my footing, but I remained upright. At a moment, I figured that she wasn't any threat. She was innocent, and I could trust her. My first priority was to help her, to bring her to a safe location. I saw that she also understood the fact I was not a threat, and she could trust me. Meanwhile, Jasmine was considering the situation now that I had added myself to the equation. I had to figure something out to destabilize her further. Quickly, I took the first thing I could reach. It was the bag A gave me. It contained all the pens. Surely they could come in handy now. I unzipped it and I backed off with E. Don't come closer. Perhaps this was ridiculous. Still, I threw the pens one by one. When I came out upon the E pen, I decided to leave it in the back. Same deal for the S pen. I couldn't throw those just in case, but I was almost out of ammo. Yet, that was enough to deter Jasmine. I was almost at the staircase. If I could just throw one more thing at her. Right, the bag itself. I plucked the last two pens out, flung those, and then lobbed the bag at their face, which made her hesitate. That was enough. I sprinted out of the room with Ian in tow. I ran for it. We almost tripped down the stairs in our hurry. In the moment, I had a passing thought of the leftover twin, but as I figured out earlier, maybe she would be fine. I just had to hope that was the case, just as I was hoping for the train to arrive quickly. If Jasmine got her bearings back and barred down the stairs, there would be nothing stopping her from. It was quiet, so I exhaled a breath I didn't know I still held. She wasn't coming down. Perhaps G was... I shook my head. I knew I shouldn't have thought about it. I knew that. I might have left the twin to die, but I had no choice. I clenched my teeth when I realized that choice still perhaps consumed one of them. The train arrived. As soon as the doors opened, we boarded it. Ah, ach, schön entspannt wieder. Ach, wie schön. Sehr entspannt heute. As soon as we entered, the train departed. We were going towards the north side. I hadn't picked which staircase I went down to because I didn't have the state of mind to think about it. Perhaps I should have thought about it more.
Where are we going? What was that event?
Unfortunately, I had no means to communicate with her, so I had to think of something else. I tapped onto her hand as if to comfort her.
Ah, well, whatever it wasn't good, huh? But at least we're good now. I don't know if you're writing something, so poke my hand once if yes, and twice if no.
I poked her hand twice.
Oh, did you run out of paper?
I poked her hand twice. That was technically true. It was just in the back.
Something else must be preventing you from writing. Did you lose the pens too?
I poked her hand once. At least I could answer simple questions.
Ah, that's really bad. Well, at least inform me of what happened like this. Is everyone okay?
I poked her hand twice. They definitely weren't okay.
Did people die?
I hesitated. To which point did I really need to tell her the truth?
No answer, huh? So I guess they did.
I realized too late that my lack of answers spoke for itself. I brushed the bag off my hand awkwardly as the train came to a stop. Oh. I looked around the station, but there was no one. The doors were open. This was already solved. Up! Und weiter geht's. Just as eagerly, the train closed its doors and ventured off again.
I don't know what else to ask, and you can't ask me anything. We can take the rest of the line in silence then, that is okay.
I answered by poking her head once, even if I wanted to talk more. It was helping, but it was just like she said. I didn't know how to communicate with her without those pens. Sure, I need the paper too, and all of them were gone with a back. The train crossed the second, third, and fourth station without a hitch. I figured we'd leave at the fifth one. Unfortunately, that station had its doors closed. Were Marco and Ray inside? Since leaving here was definitely one of the worst options, I didn't. Instead, I remained in the train, in silence, with E. I remained like that until we arrived at the next station. I waited a while, but it wouldn't go, so this definitely wasn't the station. It was perhaps the last one on the line. The announcer called it the theater station. Oh nein, nicht das Theater!
It's not moving anymore. Are we at a new station then?
My priority was to escort E out of here. I poked her hand once, then we stood up together. The idea was, if we entered the nearest station, the doors will close behind us. Since we had no time limit, we could wait there with a solution, refrain from entering it for several hours if needed, and then we could head back out in relative safety. And then, perhaps the issue would be solved. I doubted it. Yet, this was the most cowardly plan I could come up with. And it was marvelous. We stepped onto the station. It immediately became apparent this choice was a foolhardy decision on my part because the doors was closed. Huh? But Marco and Ray were... Did they split up? Did they split up and one went here? No, wait. The doors only closed when two colors stepped inside, didn't they? So it shouldn't be closed if just one person came here. Wait, one person. I opened my mouth in silent horror at what I just thought about. Why did we never try this? Perhaps I should have checked. I should have tried entering station alone and see if it closed up. If it didn't, then maybe. Maybe no puzzle needed to be solved that way. If we traversed them one by one, then the doors would never lock up. Or maybe that was just a trap by Smiley. Whatever the case was, I couldn't test it now. The door was closed. There was no one but me and E. The train had gone already. No other came by. I looked at the other side of the station. The door was closed too. The space between the stations was, as I mentioned long ago, far too dangerous to cross. That was the last-ditch effort and nothing else.
You've been silent for a while. Is everything fine?
First, I had to comfort E. I lied by poking her hand one time.
Just taking a break then. Come, poke my hand when you're good to go.
She smiled. Aw, that was a smile that needed protecting. I thought I could do it. It was my task now. First order of business. Check out the door. Or I could check everything else first too. Perhaps something or another would be a way out. Hey, the Wand! I tried to find a way to open one of the plates. They were all affixed to the wall, with large bolts. But surely, there was a way to get them off. I tried with all my might, but there was no way they were opening up. If Ray couldn't have done it, then I sure as hell didn't stand a chance. The door was closed. I tried peeking through the window. Inside was a bunch of rubble. What was that all about? I tried and tried, but I couldn't open it. There was no handle. There was nothing I could do to get it open up. Even the windows in the door was useless. As thick as the door. It didn't even break when I threw the strongest punch. I had to accept it. We were trapped here. I decided against me for now. Instead, I waited. Maybe some help will come. That was what I thought. Against the wall, I slid to the ground and sat, waiting. But help did not come. Nothing happened. It felt like an eternity passed us by as we waited for help that never came. I stood up and I decided it was time for the last-ditch effort. If I could reach the other side of the platform, another train would arrive and take us away. That was why I prepared myself for it. I backed up, looked at the still serene, waiting for help as well, and I moved forward, confident in my take. I wouldn't get to make that first step in the dangerous abyss between the stations, however. As soon as I made my mind up, darkness greeted me. Did I pass out? Did the light simply turn off? No. It was stranger than that. It was as if I was floating in darkness. I couldn't feel my body. There was only darkness. Huh? Hä? Was? Excuse me? Das ist ein Ende, was ich nicht erwartet habe. Okay. Klar, warum nicht? Klar. Kann ja auch mal passieren, ne? Manchmal fliegt man einfach in Dunkelheit. Das ist passiert. Okay. Spannend. Ich finde es sehr spannend, dass sie davon ausgehen, dass es so schwer ist, rüber zu gehen auf die andere Seite. Ich denke so, hä? Das ist ein kurzer Gang. Wenn der Zug kommt, sieht man es doch eigentlich. Ist in der Zug gar kein Licht. Was dumm wäre. Bad End. Function sees unknown. Ja, das kannst du aber laut sagen. Function sees unknown, das ist richtig. Ach ja, das Ding schon wieder. Ich warte nur, bis die anderen Optionen auftauchen, deswegen. So. No secret passages behind this television screen. It was as flat as my mood, or at least, or as flat as the Earth. I believed the Earth was flat, which I didn't. Or it was as flat as that bratty enemy girl. Perhaps it even was as flat as these comparisons. That sign wouldn't stop me because I couldn't read. Well, no, I could read. But there was no one around who could enforce the sign. Still, the sign itself would be of no use to me. My steps were blocked after only a few in this encroaching darkness. The reason was simple. There was a big gate. Unless I could cut myself into pieces, I wouldn't make it through there. I could have done that if I had a knife, but I wouldn't be alive anymore, which would be counterproductive to the goal. Even if someone picked up the little cubes that made me to put them back together, I wouldn't be fine on the other side. Okay. Nicht hilfreich. Nicht hilfreich. Flotchart. Cool. Gehen wir dahin. Und ich hoffe, dass ich nicht viel machen muss. Muss ich viel machen? Oh, kann ich einfach reden? Ich muss dahinter gehen, nicht wahr? Ich muss dahinter gehen, ich wollte gerade sagen. Okay. Jetzt kommt die Sache. Und zwar... Simon believed it's best to tackle Jasmine. Simon was stupid. I chose to knock Jasmine away with a powerful slam of my shoulders. She was instantly knocked out when she collided against the wall. Perhaps I got a little too hard. It hurt to do this to my friend, but I had no choice. It was either knocking her out or risking her damaging someone else, or even herself, even more than a simple knockout. Something in her caused her to go out of her mind. At least she dropped the knife on the way down, as she crumpled to the floor in a heap of jasmine. The weapon was covered with a red, drying bloodbath. I panted heavily, calming down after the altercation. It had drawn a lot out of me just to do this much. Meanwhile, she was still watching, unable to move. It was perhaps a better way to say she was no longer willing to move. She was still frozen in shock, simply put. This whole business, what even happened? I don't know, but we have to treat her. We need to bring her back. Bring her back? She looked at me, strangely bewildered. I spoke about Jasmine, but perhaps she misinterpreted it. I corrected myself to not give her false hope. I mean, we have to restrain Jay, so that way she won't hurt us.
She killed my sister. That's all I want. I want my sister back.
She clenched her teeth. The sadness in her voice was impossible to mistake. I approached her to console her, but she glared at me.
Don't come closer.
She stood up and hesitated before grabbing her sister's body and carrying it off. I watched it all happen, unwilling to get in the middle of them. I waited a few minutes, though I knew I didn't have all the time in the world. Jasmine was knocked out, but she'd come awake sooner or later. Took a look at her body. No, not like that. Just a cursory one. Making sure she was still alive was a priority. She was not bleeding anywhere, but the hit she got was definitely strong. Looking around for anything to help me, I noticed that when G carried H's body awake, she left something behind. The other twin once carried a map on her, and now it was on the floor. I found it strange that G didn't come back for it, but I wasn't going to complain. I took it and looked all over. There were the names of every station on the map, all of them. separately in a pile. One of them was an infirmary. Ah! I can use this to keep Jasmine bound and treat her if needed. Didn't Ace say that he came back from the infirmary earlier? That means it's often vacant. I also had to take care of the knife. This kind of thing was too dangerous to leave lying around, or to give to anyone. I need to get rid of it in a way that would make it impossible for anyone to get it anymore. First, I need to clean it. I loathe doing this, but I used Ace's body to do so. I wiped it off with a piece of clothing. Yeah, I didn't have any other way. This place surprisingly didn't have a sink, and the water cooler was just for show. It was empty. I had a passing thought for G while I was cleaning the knife. She was the only one apart from Jasmine and me who knew what transpired here. And she was on the loose. The twin would definitely be different the next time we met. Once she processed everything, I would change her. Something like that could break someone. Perhaps she was already broken. It was partially my fault. First order of business done. Now let's leave the knife somewhere no one will find it. I put it in my outfit and lifted Jasmine from the ground to carry her down the stairs. I need to take the train with her to head to the infirmary. Oh, it was heavy. Way heavier than I thought she'd be. I wasn't someone who was especially fit, just average, and so carrying a body like her slowed me down considerably. She could have eaten less strawberry cakes at least. I knew she loved it, but this was a bit much. Wow. I made sure the twins weren't downstairs before I stepped out of the little lobby. The train must have passed. I don't know which direction she took. Perhaps she went the same way. That wouldn't be good. I spoke aloud to organize my thoughts. I need to find a place where no one would take the knife anymore. That's it! The rails! No one would cross them for it. Especially if I threw it into the darkness. No one could see it. That's such a good idea. I lowered Jasper to the ground slowly. Then I went to the little dark hallway, and just before entering it, I looked into the tunnel. I couldn't see a thing beyond this room. Perfect. It was pitch black. I threw the knife, which echoed as it landed with a loud clank and then nothing. It's gone now. No one will make use of it again. It was as if I spoke to reassure Jasmine, but she was still out cold. The train arrived momentarily. I painstalking lifted Jasmine back up to enter the train with her. There was no one else around. Everything was eerily deserted. Eerily silent. Just eerie. What a mess. Hoffentlich entgleist der Zug jetzt nicht wie dem Messer. Das wäre doof. I sat Jasmine in a seat. She looked like a disarticulated marionette. I made sure to position her in such a way to have the momentum work with her posture. The train set off. I had to count the stations not to miss my stop, but I also wanted to think about the situation. So let's make sense of all of this fuckery. I felt like Ray, swearing so much. We all come back from our stations except for the twins. Marco, Ray, Jasmine A, E, and myself were there. Wait, fuck, E was there. I completely forgot about her. I slapped my face. Shit. In a moment, I didn't realize I left her there since she was so quiet. I could back for her later, I thought. Whatever. Right now, let's just focus on this. I'm not seeing Marco or Ray anywhere at the moment. That's so weird. They're not on any of these stations either. It's like they just vanished. The twins were in the lounge. Marco and Ray were there. Then, when I came back upstairs, my memory kind of fuzzy about it. Were the twins there? I don't know. Ah! I ruffled my hair rapidly, making a mess of it. The more I thought about Marco and Ray, the harder my head hurt. It was like reality didn't want me to think about it. Did I mistakenly see them? Was I hallucinating? Were my eyes playing tricks on me? I shook my head to clear it all up. Thankfully, the train stopped at the station I wanted to go to. It had stopped a few times prior, but I didn't pay attention to those, only mentally counted them. I grabbed Jasmine again and quickly hoisted her over my shoulder. I have to get used to this, especially if I need to carry upstairs. Need to be quick before the train departs again. Finally, I was in the station. It didn't take too long before heading to the lobby. And then right up the stairs, one step at a time. I ascended with great effort, but I managed. Panting on the hallway mark, I remained there for several moments before reassuming my track. Finally, I was at the top. I quickly spied a bed in which I deposited her with all the care in the world. Oh, this would have been easier with someone else, but that would be kind of hard right now. Our entire group was somewhat dysfunctional. What a mess. I repeat the words I said before taking the train. For some reasons, it helped me cope with it. Okay, what now? I got rid of the knife, so I was safe. I want answers, but I also want her to be alright first, so I could even get those answers. I went to the sink. With some paper towels in hand, I wet the lot of folded up and put them up for it. At least this would alleviate the pain I caused her by knocking her out. Nothing to do with that. Wait. After a while, I remembered what Smiley said and I quickly fixed my predicament. I attached a post-it note from one of the sticks I found in the infirmary to the dorm frames at the bottom. On them was the indication to yell if they would go up, as this place was occupied by 2 already. At least this would prevent some kind of shitty tragedy. Das glaubst du? Ah, weiß ich nicht. While I'd been waiting, I investigated the area, but I found nothing of use. Jasmine was taking a long time to come back to her senses, so I decided to examine her again. I took her temperature, but everything seemed normal. It was when I pulled my hand away that I noticed something weird. Oh, okay. Wir finden was Neues raus, aber das erst im nächsten Part. Sachen werden spannend, Leute. Gut. Dann bis nächstes Mal. Bye!